But the moment you have decided to move on with that direction, don't look back. You have to go all the way out.
From Value Invest Asia, this is the Asian Mavericks. We explore the hidden stories of successful founders, business leaders, and investors in Asia. Here's your host, Stanley Lim.
Welcome to the Asian Mavericks, where we touch on the story about the life of some of the most successful business and community leaders, exploring through their struggles and victory in the game of life. I'm Stanley, and on the show today, we have the Managing Director of Yong-Oiltek International, Mr. Henry Yong. You'll get to hear his story on how he came from just a small town in Malaysia, and yet being able to build his life systematically to now being the head of a listed company in Singapore. The story of Henry Yong and Yong-Oiltek International is coming up next. Henry Yong is the Managing Director of Yong-Oiltek International. It is an engineering company with a long history in the palm oil refinery industry. When he took over the company in the midst of the financial crisis in 2008, he doubled down on the focus on research and development, which expanded the product range for Yong-Oiltek. He also successfully moved into the renewable energy sector through a biogas recovery project. Today, Yong-Oiltek International hold multiple patents in the refining of palm oil and also the renewable energy sector. How Henry succeeded really comes from his logical approach to life, and all started when he was just a little boy in a small town 2 hours north of the capital of Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur.
Okay, my life growing up is similar as most typical Malaysian. I was brought up in a small town by name of Ipoh in Perak. So that's where I studied my secondary school, and finally I also furthered my higher level education in Kuala Lumpur. In University of Malaysia in Kuala Lumpur. That's where I first stepped up to the biggest city in Malaysia.
Okay, and have you always know that you plan to move to KL, to Klang Valley, or it is a part of you that believe that you should come to the bigger city?
That was a time which is way back about 20 over years back. So almost 30 years back. At that time, the mindset is very different. So as being a Ipoh boy, so I always think that I could also extend my career and continue the rest of my life in the small town in Ipoh. I never thought of coming to the bigger city.
Right. Okay. But of course, you came down to for further studies. I understand you went into University of Malaya. Right at the beginning. How do you end up choosing going to the engineering line?
Because I, as a typical young boy, I always started to think, what do I want to be for in future? So at that time, I basically had gone through most of the courses, like for example, medicine. But I realized that if I were to take up the medicine course, I would probably end up to be as a doctor. So if I take the law, so I will be the lawyer at the end of the day. So that more or less like I have to decide then. But finally, I found one interesting course, which is being a combination of chemistry, process, and engineering, which is a chemical engineering. And that particular course, whereby after I can decide what I want to be after my graduations. So I still have a little bit more time to think of what kind of profession I want to be in. So that was eventually I took up the chemical engineering course.
Would you say that you're already very interested in chemistry when you were young, or is it something more of a more practical? It sounds like it's more of a practical choice to choose chemical engineering first as a safe bet.
You are right. That is more of the practical choice. In fact, if you would have asked me at that time as a teenager what exactly I like, to be very honest, I have no idea what exactly I am in love with. So whether or not medicine or whether or not engineering. But it is more on I look at the futures in which this engineering maybe I could have more choices at the end of the day. So and also more importantly, I do not need to make the decision then yeah, so at the moment, yeah, so that was why I picked up this course. It gave me a little bit more time to think why how I wanted to be in future. Yeah.
I see. Okay, it's has you always been very logical in your thinking? Because it seems that some of the people I meet, they are either people who are very passionate about something and always know that they want to be, a doctor or a lawyer, like you said. And there are another group of people like yourself who are very logical in their thinking to understand what are the pros and cons when making a decision. Have you always been like this?
Yes, you are absolutely right. Since young, I feel that I'm a very analytical person. Everything that I would like to embark on, I will first analyze and think through what are the pros and cons, what are the advantages. Yeah. So in terms of passion, yes, my passion I would say is that eventually you of course is to be a financially stable person and that I can contribute meaningfully to the society and the country. Yeah. So but in terms of contribution and so-called the income earning, I would say is that all kind of profession are able to do the same. Yeah, even I'm being as a doctor or a lawyer. Yeah, as an engineer. Yeah, so that was why I feel that my passion is not so much particularly on one specific field. Yeah.
I see. Okay. And of course, if you fast forward after your studies, being a chemical engineer out fresh grad, there's many career path that you can choose from. How did you go about making that decision and entering into the oil palm industry?
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's another analytical journey. Yeah. So as I mentioned that prior to taking up this chemical engineering course, so I kind of taking a course that I can make the decision of choice at a later time. Yeah. But however, prior to my graduations, I know that there is already a time whereby I need to make up my mind. Yeah. What exactly the industry that I need to be in. And at that time, I'm a person, I do not wish to embark onto too many different industry in which that make me knowing all the industry but not specialized in. Yeah. So I would prefer to be specialized and to be a true specialist in one single industry. That is what I believe. Yeah. So at that time, I started to look at what kind of industry that Malaysia basically is playing the key role or significant roles in the world. Yeah. So at the time, I found that Malaysia is being the largest producer of crude palm oil. Yeah, in the world. So that I perhaps this is the only products or only exports that palm oil. Which palm oil is which Malaysia is the largest producer in the world at the time. That basically inspired me and made me make up my mind to be involved in the palm oil industry. At that time, actually, my struggle was actually between the palm oil and the petroleum oil. Yeah, so both oil. Yeah, so but finally, I noticed because Malaysia is also the key producing country of petroleum. Yeah. So, but however, I pick palm oil simply because that Malaysia is the largest, whereas in petroleum, Malaysia is not the largest. So, I believe that being the largest, we must have the edge. Yeah. So that enable the wider choice. Yeah. For me in the future. Yeah. That was why I ended up picking up the palm oil industry as my career to start off with. Yeah.
And of course, by the time you reached 2008, I guess just before the financial crisis, you ended up joining Oiltek as the managing director. Can you share a bit how did that came about? How did you meet Oiltek and how did you end up being the managing director for this company?
Okay. Yeah, it's a little bit of a story before that. During my first two job, I picked up the operational experience and corporate experience. And when I came to embark the entrepreneurship on my own, so it's a different experience altogether. I started to pick up a lot like corporate exercise, merger acquisitions, yeah. So that the negotiations, yeah. So it's a deal making, all these things, yeah. So and Oiltek was one of the company that I came along with during my employment earlier, yeah. So I knew the founder, and the founder came to me, informed that he is planning for retirement, yeah. So whether or not could I assist to look at any potential party who are interested to take up the company, yeah. So at that time, so when this words being came to me, first thing in my mind, hey, this is very interesting because this company are very much in line to my interest being a process engineer, which I can fully utilize all the process capability that I have in mind to continue to further my journey in the palm oil industry. Yeah. So but of course at that time I have a limited capability. So what I did was I was trying to get the support from other company to acquire the company on my own. Yeah, together with myself. Yeah. So that was how I ended up with buying up this company and via a listed company in Singapore, which is Midtax Engineering Corporation at the time. Yeah. So and I myself also ended up with as a minority shareholder in the company. Yeah.
I see. Okay. And once you joined the company in 2008, I guess this is before the Lehman Brothers crisis, or just after.
I think Lehman Brother crisis is after that. Yeah. Yeah. So of course Lehman Brother is a financial crisis, but we have also the another crisis which is in the palm oil industry alone. Yeah. So that particular crisis is a so-called the commodity price volatility crisis. Yeah. In the sense that palm oil from its typical 800 to 1,002 ringgit per ton kind of a pricing level, it shoots up all the way to above 4,000 ringgit, yeah, within a couple of months, yeah. So this kind of price volatility, it interrupt, yeah, the so-called the cost and pricing structure in the commodity supply chain, yeah. So for example, like the manufacturer who are making use of palm oil as a feedstock, yeah. So when the oil price, yeah, the feedstock price increased by 2 to 3 times, yeah, not all of these costs you are able to transfer to the consumer sometimes, yeah. So that is where actually at that time, I believe maybe it's the first time being a young entrepreneur. It's the first time I see this kind of wild volatility in terms of vegetable oil prices, yeah.
Wow. And facing this crisis and coming into the company, what is your main concern, and what were you seeing? At that time when you first joined, what was Oiltek main business in 2008?
At that time, Oiltek main business are building the physical refinery, fractionations, and also started design and supply of the biodiesel plant. Yeah, so
Right. And when you're facing this crisis, do you see a sharp change to the business? How do you react to it?
yeah, in fact, many people out of the industry will always think, hey, if the palm oil price increase, it's good for the industry, or if the palm oil price drop, the industry is going to be affected. Yeah, I would say is that yes and no. Particularly for people like us, yeah, because we supply the manufacturing plant and facility. Yeah. So when the palm oil prices up and down, yes, it might affect certain part of the supply chain, yeah, but it will not affect the entire supply chain as a whole. For example, I just give an example. If the palm oil prices price increase, it may affect, it may give a so-called the negative impact to the manufacturing segment, but it will be a very good so-called a very courage factor to the plantation. Yeah. So therefore, in the complete supply chain, as and when there is any pricing price movement, part of it will be affected, but part of it will be beneficial out of it. Yeah. So that was why through this incident, it also made me realize that we need to be diversified. We need to cover as wide as possible in terms of our business portfolio. We cannot rely on the single industry, single segment of the industry. Yeah.
I see. Okay, and of course, when you first joined the company, because the company has always been founder-led since the 80s, how were you able to get the people already in the company maybe accept you as the new boss, or do you have to change management? How do you go about doing that?
Okay, it's a very interesting question because from my previous experience, every time I was actually being engaged to be the leader of the organization, yeah, or the so-called the segment, yeah, segment of the business, yeah. So as we know that no matter how smart we are, the moment we enroll to the company, we are new to the company, yeah. So throughout the years, I basically have no issue in terms of communication skill to interact with all the people within the organization. But first thing first, I would say is that at the beginning when we first enroll to the company, so definitely people will give us a short-term respect as being the new leader, yeah. But of course, this short-term aspect wouldn't last, yeah. So more importantly is the results count, yeah. If these leaders are not able to bring the change and the improvement, that kind of respect will not going to last very long, yeah. So I would say is that I'm fortunate enough that throughout my formal career path, so that had already enabled me to build up a very rounded skill set in terms of technical, in terms of operation experience, in terms of also knowing the maintenance and also the project handling, and also more importantly is a corporate structure and corporate reporting, even the so-called deal making and equity market, yeah, because we also involved in the IPO in foreign exchange before, yeah. So and also I'm dealing with many of the listed company. So because of all this all-rounded skill set, basically, the moment I came to Oiltek, it was not too much of a headwind, I would say, yeah.
Right, I see. Okay, but what are some of the key changes that you start implementing and changing, because you really transformed the company before your IPO? So what are the things that you saw were inside Oiltek when you joined, and then how do you go about changing them?
Yeah. Okay. It was almost a 13, 14 years journey since I embarked into Oiltek, yeah. So every organization, after a certain period of time, it requires changes. It requires improvement, yeah. I would say now, it is not just like every 10 years it need improvement. It is the improvement need to be there at all time, yeah, continuously at all time. First, I came to the company. I started to realize, yeah, being a technology company, our technology need to be in the forefront. Our technology need to be up to date, yeah. So this was what I picked up in my university, in such that I will always try not to do something similar as the others, as most of the others. However, if I need to, I will have to do it a better way. I have to do it a better, yeah. So likewise, with a similar mindset in the organization, I will started to look at all other businesses that other people are not doing. That's where we come to the multiplying our diversification. Yeah. So at the same time, so whatever that we are doing, we have to do it better. What is in a better in a sense that we need to have a continual changes and improvement. So that was where I started off the corporate policy, yeah, with a slogan of invention every 180 days, meaning that in this organization, most of the products we need to review and we need to bring in improvement in every 180 days. So meaning that every 6 months we will need to have at least one new invention in each and every of the plant that we are selling. In particular, the physical refinery at the time, which is being our main our core portfolio. Yeah. So and this is where we started to focus a lot on R&D improvements, is in the sense that like we are bringing additional features, like for example, to enhance the utility consumption by heat recovery, like increase the quality of the product, like enhance the production yield, and also to make the design to be more cost effective, so on and so forth. Yeah. So I would say that kind of first round of changes does bring up the effect. Yeah, in the sense that our sales started to pick up tremendously, and we also started to gain popularity in the market. Yeah. To cut a long story short, yeah. So within the last 13, 14 years, in terms of company, the NTA, it has already grown by more than 700%. So 700% with the past 13 years prior to IPO, 700 to 800%. Yeah, in terms of profit numbers, also increased by at least 300% from before. And apart from that, we had also grown from not just in edible oil alone. It's also expanded to renewable energy, include biodiesel, include biogas, includes also the downstream products like shortening, margarine, phytonutrients, all kind of different multiple industry. And other than that, we also have successfully start off with some the product sales and trading segment that can bring us a recurrence income, continuously. And at the same time, we had also multiplied our footstep to almost 34 countries in the world for now.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's very, very impressive. Yeah, that's amazing growth that you have really brought Oiltek up, especially in a very competitive market as an engineering company doing EPC for the oil refineries. You see that engineering companies in Malaysia are being a quite difficult position, especially with more competition, even from MNC. DSMAC is quite big in the region, and also in China, India, and even the Southeast Asian region. All the engineering companies are coming up. So apart from focusing on innovation on your part, how were you able to attract all this talent to work for you in your research and development? Because for talent in Malaysia, it seems that they have other choices other than this industry. What's your approach on that? How do you attract them to come and work for you?
Okay, being a young entrepreneur who came from employment, subsequently into partnership, so more or less that I understand what the expectation of the people, So I would personally feel that there are three particular segments I'll be looking at. First, we have to pay them with the right wages. So second, it is that we have to allow them to have the opportunity to learn and grow. So the career path. The third will also be the self-satisfaction, meaning that we have to design the route map to enable them to feel the job satisfaction along the way. So but of course the relationship between the management and the people are also equally important. And what makes us a little bit different from the others is that in many organizations, maybe the people who are working is defined as the employee or a staff. But to me, everyone within the organization, they are my colleagues. They are the part of the organization. I would not so-called classify or define them as so-called staff. So in fact, in most of my speech and in most of my conversation to anyone, I will mostly address them as a colleague rather than a staff. So to me, this is we are in one team. So we can communicate and interact so freely, not like between the boss and the staff, but more like a colleague that we are giving idea to each others. So this is how, in a way, my management styles.
I see. So you prefer open dialogue across the board and less hierarchy in the company.
Definitely.
That's interesting. And of course, talking about managing through crisis, the most recent one that we went through, of course, the COVID-19 pandemic. When it first came, when the previous Prime Minister Muhyiddin issued the lockdown, did you foresee that it will be such a long journey, or what was your first reaction at that time?
Oh, that's an interesting question. When we first, this is a date, the numbers that we have never forgot. So it's 18th of March. I think all Malaysians will never forget this date. And in fact, this particular lockdown surprised to most Malaysians like this because we have never encountered this this before. And as we know that our businesses are relying on a lot of flying overseas to meet with customers, to interact with them. So then we deliver the cargo Then we send our engineers to overseas to start up the plant for them. Yeah. So during the pandemic, basically all activity has to be ceased. Yeah. So I was really a little bit of loss at the first 1 or 2 days. How I mean at the time we have no clue at all how to continue with the business at the time. Yeah. So it was a little bit panic, and of course. Yong-Oiltek being a so-called international company, so without this will be a little bit challenging. But having said that, I would again give a thumbs up to the Yong-Oiltek's management. Yeah, we have a very good management, and we are able to react and respond to the changes very effectively and timely. Yeah, so in fact, within less than few days, that particular time, I still remember I was at home. I have to work from home. We quickly established all the work from home procedures, and that is more on the office operational setup. But more importantly, is the direction forward. Yeah, so I started to see risk and opportunity. Yeah, so first thing first in my mind, this is not something that happened to our company alone. It's across the entire market. Yeah. So if we face this, other people will face the same. Yeah. First, I started to calm myself down. Yeah. So this is something that apply to all. So and from that time on, I started to think, how can we distinguish ourselves compared to the others? Yeah. This is the challenges faced by all the others. This is an opportunity whereby if we work out with the right recipe, this is the right time that we are able to catch up with the others or overtake the others. So this courage sentiment came in and made us to have very quickly develop online commissioning. Why the online? We are able to perform the commissioning, yeah, in the plant that we sold overseas, yeah, which we had in that particular period, 3-4 months, we had commissioned and hand over 2 refinery plants in Africa without any travel needed by our people flying over at the time. Yeah. So at the same time, we had also developed a lot of new so-called marketing methodology, whereby we are able to in-hook with our client, and we had even at the time successfully closed several big orders during the pandemic. Yeah. So that after we achieve this kind of success, it's more like affirm our direction is correct. So that really gives us a lot of courage factor to move on strong and aggressively. Yeah.
Wow, interesting. How were you able to achieve that? How were you able to bid for these projects at the time of this lockdown?
I'm a person focus a lot on analysis and analytical. So I will not do something without thinking. As and when we face the challenges, first thing first, before I do anything, I think what I need to do. I think thoroughly. I think from all different aspects. Yeah. So I would say the thinking process is the first thing that actually establish all this new direction and the new platform. Yeah. So of course, after thinking, second will be the sharing of the thinking with my people, my colleague. Yeah. So as we have adopted a very open communication between us, between the management and the people. So I shared my thought, I shared my ideas, and I'm also trying to get the feedback from respective people in the management and to firm up the new direction forward to the company, despite it's during the pandemic. All this thing was done when I was at home, locked out at home.
That's fascinating that you guys are able to change it so quickly and turn this crisis into an opportunity. Like I said, and of course, during this period as well, you embark on the journey of IPO on the Singapore Stock Exchange. What was the rationale behind it? Why do you feel that you need to embark on this journey to become a listed company?
Basically, the IPO is in line with our growth plan of the company. As we mentioned that throughout the last 13 years, we had grown our so-called EPCC segment to have built up the order book 6 to 8 times from before. Yeah. So we have increased our revenue also by 400%, 500%. Yeah. So our NTA had also increased by more than 700%. Yeah. So it is kind of up to certain size, we need to think of a different operating platform. Yeah, different operating platform. And Oiltek, it is a company that without indebtedness. So we have zero bank borrowing, and all the in-house projects we are running with our own in-house fund. Yeah, self-funding. Yeah, so there is no single borrowing from the bank. Yeah, so and of course when we came to EPCC at this size, typically we shouldn't be continued as a private entity anymore to enable a more continual growth. Yeah, so because if any organization at this kind, so without bank borrowing and yet we are doing it private company, it will be a little bit like challenging. So of course, just how I mentioned a growth plan, and my plan is in the next 3 to 5 years, it is not just a EPCC alone. We wanted to kickstart the second engine and also the third engine of Oiltek, which we are going to create a completely different so-called business platform. So which we hope one day sooner, so all this new platform is able to translate into or growing into a similarly big as our existing EPCC business or even larger. Yeah. So everything is under the plan in progress. So that is where we believe that this IPO is important for us in order for us to continue growing the company.
During this growth period as well, you not only improve your research and technology, but you also venture a lot overseas, especially when you, like you say, into the Africa market. How do you see this internationalization in the future for the company? And do you feel that how do you mitigate this risk of doing business so far away?
There are a few things. First, when coming to in contact with the people all around the world, for us, we already have more than 30 over years international experience. So in fact, we are one of the very early engineering company who have extended our business into like Central America, Latin America, Africa, East Africa, South Africa, North Africa, like Algeria, yeah, different countries, yeah. So and we sort of understand the local cultures, and we are also engage a lot of agents who are able to, in a way, become the bridge between us and the local client, yeah. So so far out of the 34 countries that we are in, we have about 9 agents in the market, yeah. What these agents, the presence of these agents is also good in the sense that it is significantly reduce our operating expenses. Like we do not need to have any of the operating setup abroad, which is a continual outlay, yeah. So which we are able to keep all the budget in control. So this is one of the methodology that we adopt, yeah. So in the so-called international market, and when come to financial risk, basically we have a very thorough credit control. So all the buyers that buying our products from overseas in particular, so we will request a secure financial instrument, for example like letter of credit, yeah. So and meaning that the moment the cargo is ready and we shifted it out, so we will be able to use this consignment letter to claim the money from the bank, yeah. So which is a form of a secure financial instrument, yeah. So unless we are only provide the open credit to the client who had our regular client who have been in business dealing with us for maybe past 10 years, 20 years, yeah. And also the reputable company, yeah.
In recent years also there's a trend of corporation and even stock exchanges and banks all talking about moving towards ESG practices. And do you foresee this is something that you would want to focus on? I see that you have a renewable business. Do you think that will become a much more prominent business for Oiltek compared to the refinery business?
Yeah, in fact, this ESG has been one of our key focus areas since not just recently. In fact, way back in a couple of years ago. Yeah. So, okay, just to highlight a little bit of our ESG related effort, we focus a lot in energy efficiency. We focus a lot on the reduction of labor dependence. Yeah. So that is where we, as far as our company is concerned, apart from a lot of go green policy, yeah, so multiple policies that to encourage the so-called energy efficiency, we also translate this kind of mindset into the plant that we design. Yeah, all the plant we are designing and supplying are fully automated. For example, like the huge refinery and fractionation plant and all this. Basically, what is required is only one operator in the control room. Everything are fully automated. Yeah. So that particular operator, in fact, is only needed as a standby to look at the control system. Yeah, that's all. Yeah. So, and apart from that, we also design not just a fully automated. It's also a very highly energy efficient plant with full heat recovery and also the highest production yield. Yeah. So this has been translated into our products. Yeah. At the same time, we also focus a lot in diversity. Diversity is also being one of the key area in ESG. Yeah, our diversity first in business wise, we are widely diversified. If you can see the kind of products that we are selling, are actually way diversified in the entire supply chain throughout the palm oil, upstream, midstream, downstream, apart from like edible oil, shortening, margarine, yeah, ghee, even the stearin powder, animal feed, yeah, so nutrients, biodiesel, yeah, so all different kind of area, also in renewable energy, biogas. So, and apart from that, we are also in engineering component supply that we supply to general engineering industry, yeah. So like the bulking system, high pressure boiler system, yeah, all these are actually for general industry. So our product diversity are covering all different segments in the industry. And apart from that, we are also very diversified in terms of the geographical coverage. Yeah, we as we mentioned that our coverage is across 5 continents throughout 34 countries. Yeah, that's on business. So therefore, we are less concerned on concentration risk in terms of like recession in any of the specific region. Yeah. So and other than that, in terms of our the company as well, so we are also with high diversity in the sense that we have so-called the colleagues, yeah, from all different races. So we have Chinese, we have Malay, we have Indian. So almost in each and every department, yeah. So and in terms of gender diversity, we also have 1/3 of our organization and also in our boards, yeah, are female, yeah. So we are in full compliance of all the gender diversification, all this, yeah. So we are well diversified. When come to environmental, all along the time, Oiltek has been very highly focusing on environment. So that was my passion since I came from also the biodiesel industry. So we produce something renewable. And when coming to reason, so we had also developed a lot of like from waste to energy. It is not just alone from vegetable oil to convert into biodiesel. We are able to convert the slush oil, the non-edible stuffs into biofuels. Yeah. So through one of our flagship enzymatic process. And at the same time, we are also able to convert the palm oil milk effluent, which is a wastewater, into biogas, methane gas, which is used to produce steam, produce electricity. So which is in a form of waste to energy. Yeah. So and throughout these years of promoting the environmental protection system, we are also part of the RSPO member, Roundtable Sustainable Palm Oil member. I believe that we are one of the very few company being the member of RSPO. That basically explains our keen interest to pursue towards the sustainability. Yeah.
I find that a lot of successful business people like yourself, one key characteristic that I found in them is not just having superior knowledges about their industry, but also having a never say die attitude, which being the head of an engineering company, which definitely have a lot of challenges, you definitely have such a trait. Do you feel that this is something that is trained into you? You know, when you look at something, do you always see the bright side of things, or you have to constantly train yourself to think more positive?
I would say it's more on cautiously optimistic in whatever pathway that we are embarking into. But I always encourage before we embark on something, think over, analyze and think over. But the moment you have decided to move on with that direction, don't look back. You have to go all the way out. Of course, along the way, definitely there are challenges, there are failures, there are a lot of comments, negative comments, the influences. But the moment that you have made up your mind, we have to be confident on our decision. That's where my experience is that we have to be confident on our experience and we have to try overcome along the way whatever challenges that we are facing. So is as what you mentioned, never surrender. Yeah.
Being able to create a great life for yourself and also for your family. I see your family portrait there. Definitely, your family is very important to you. And I always have this heard this saying, wealth doesn't travel through 3 generations. It's in our culture and a lot of culture in the world. And what are some of the things you are maybe teaching your children on making sure that they can also be successful like yourself in the future?
Yeah, that is my personal. Of course, it may not apply to everyone, but at least that apply to me. Yeah, so family value is to me is utmost important. Yeah, so I value the relationship with all my family members, and likewise, in fact, human relationship are also to me is a high value. Yeah, so I also value relationship between myself and our colleagues, our shareholders, our even clients, supplier, everybody. Yeah. But when coming to wealth does not cross 3 generations, basically now the world had changed quite drastically compared to our younger time. Yeah. So today we understand the world and we look at the world are very much different from where we are maybe 30 years back. Yeah. Technology has emerged and changed the world very rapidly. I would say that I am not too particular whether or not the wealth can carry on with how many generations and all these things. Yeah, we would rather to let the children to pick something to their own interests. I'm of course happy if my children is happy to inherit our business today. But having said that, it all depends on them because I've seen a lot of younger generation now. Their career pathway are very different from us. Those days we emphasize a lot on work hard, but now they are really work smart. Yeah, a lot of young generation, they are comfortably able to create a huge empire at a very young age. Yeah, so that is beyond the imagination of the elder generation like us. So therefore, as I said, time has changed. To some extent, we should also start looking at their perspective. Yeah, sometimes they are not completely wrong and we are not right either sometimes. So we need to have a middle stand to understand both sides. Yeah.
You strike me as someone who is very open-minded and able to take in open dialogue and understand from someone else's perspective. Do you feel that, okay, maybe this question is more of a reflection, right?
Yeah.
If you go back to your youth again and you're going to just coming out from university, do you think that what will be your advice to your younger self at that time, right before entering the job market?
Of course, just as a sharing, through my past experience, as what I mentioned earlier, So whatever we wanted to embark in future, think over in a longer term, So if we have limited knowledge in this particular field, do some research, do some facts finding, understand it, and think before we decide. So as I mentioned before, the moment we decided, go all the way. Don't turn back. Don't worry about how people talk about comment and influence. So whatever feedback, positive feedback from respective party, it does contribute. But however, always remember, you are the one knowing the subject matter best and better than anyone else. So therefore, whoever give you the comment may not understand the subject matter as good as yourself. And also your good self. So for example, whether or not you are able to be a boss or whatever. You know better than anyone else. Yeah. So of course, the other things is very important that throughout our journey, always do things lawfully and do things properly without shortcut. That is very important to younger generation because for me, I'm a person I doesn't like to work on rework. Yeah. So the only way that we can save from reworking is to do everything proper and no need to worry about what happened behind. Yeah. So therefore, I always encourage people to do things legally and legitimately. Yeah.
Thank you so much for all your wisdom, Mr. Yong.
Yeah.
I really appreciate our session and learn a lot from you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, most welcome. Yeah.
Thank you for listening to our show this week. I'm Stanley, and you have been listening to The Asian Mavericks, produced by Value Invest Asia. You can subscribe to us through Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. And you can also listen to our uncut version of this interview and many others 1 week early by joining our premium membership at valueinvestasia.com. Thank you. Until we meet again, stay safe.